You talking to me?
It's gonna be legendary.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Ho, 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 ho.
They're here. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
You're listening to Natalie Lipka and Wayne Frazier on Hollywood Close-Up.
Well, I woke up poor and ordinary, wondering where the days have gone and why I keep each one so.
This is Hollywood Close-Up. I'm Natalie Lipka.
And I'm Wayne Frazier. We are two actors talking our way to the top.
Yes, we are. Please check us out at natalieandwayne.com, on Twitter and Instagram at Natalie and Wayne, and follow us, subscribe on iTunes.
Absolutely. And music, once again, you can check it out, Florence Hartigan at SoundCloud.com, and we have a special episode.
Oh my gosh, this is
live right here. Hello, Facebook world.
Hi, we're talking to some of the candidates running for SAG-AFTRA national president.
Yes.
We're super excited.
And our first guest is, we're thrilled to have him.
Yeah, and we want to let everyone know this is an open forum that we've created, an unbiased environment to basically talk to the candidates, get their points of view, and we're not here to pick a certain candidate per se, but to definitely talk about the issues and get their point of view. So,
yeah,
our first guest, he is a 38-year SAG and AFTRA member. He is an actor, a stunt coordinator, SAG-AFTRA national president candidate running as an independent. Pete Antico is with us.
Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate you taking your time with us.
And we're going to get right to it. There's a lot to talk about. So our first question is, what is your first plan of business if and when you get voted in as SAG-AFTRA national president?
When I get voted in, the first plan of business, you have to revamp SAG-AFTRA and put it in the 21st century. I mean, the business practices at SAG-AFTRA, have for the last 10 years have been in the dark ages. We have to introduce technology such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, and we have to implement tools with facial recognition, and voice recognition that can track content anywhere in the world, real time, 24 hours a day, so actors can get their fair share of residuals, because that right now is a major issue. The next thing I do is you'd have to really go over the financial books of SAG-AFTRA, because we've really been run in the dark. There's no transparency. I mean, we just ratified a contract that's the worst contract I've ever seen in my 38 years. And the fact is that it was really shoved down the member's throat with no minority report. It was so abysmally bad that they're giving away our travel that we've had for over 50 years, which means that anytime they take an actor and they fly him to a location at a hotel, they no longer pay you properly for your air travel. You used to get a day's pay. Now they give you $500, and then when you arrive at the hotel, they expect you to provide your own transportation. Mm-hmm. And if you go an hour to and from, they no longer pay you for that. It's free. You're no longer on the clock. You're no longer on their insurance. And then it cuts into your turnaround time because they can waive it. So normally they have to give you 12 hours of turnaround. But if you go an hour each way when you're on location, they waive it. Then it becomes a 10-hour turnaround, which would have been a forced call, which gave you an extra day. But the biggest part of this contract, it's unsafe. It'll cause additional deaths from sleep deprivation, actors, crew, not including the most important part, the stunt players. So, Gabriel Kateris and this Unite for Strength political party, they don't have any regard for human life. They actually thought that this is a good thing to do, give away what we've had for 50 years. The issues are that I've never seen a contract be promoted so much. They sent 5 postcards. They spent $250,000 trying to sell it with no minority report. They didn't even allow anybody to rebut it. Or when she went on a speaking tour around the country trying to sell lipstick on a pig, because that's what it is. It's still a pig. The contract's abysmal. It's so bad that they didn't even negotiate cable TV, which is a $56 billion business in transition. That was the biggest issue at wages and working conditions, and yet they didn't even bring it to the table. So they misrepresented the will of the membership. Number 2, the new media contracts with Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. I mean, you're talking about profits of $6 billion in Netflix, and yet there's no residuals for a year for performers. And the problem with that contract is that what happened in the last negotiation was someone like Marvel will come up and say they have 4 shows, and then when they come to negotiate, they sign it, but they've got another 50 shows that are licensed before 2014. Now, in this contract, they can say, well, we got the residuals after 90 days instead of after a year. However, if they have another 100 or 200 shows licensed before 2017, they're still paid at the old rates.
Right.
So you don't get residuals after a year. It's really no gains. And they, instead of putting it in dollars and cents, they put it in, it's 300%.
Right.
So there's really the contract in many different areas is subterfugeous, because they're trying to say it's $256 million in gains. It's 30% more than last time, but they never give you the truth, which is factoring in the rate of inflation,
right?
Which is 2.5%, and when you factor in food year on year, it's 7%. So you got to go to 4%, which is really the true number.
Well, let me ask you this then, Pete. How do you plan? Should you get voted in? How do you plan to get some more acting jobs? And bring some of those back to the working actor in the union.
The simple way to do that is you have to get contracts that are livable. First of all, if you want to organize and get more jobs, you have to provide a value add to being in the union. This is a union busting contract with the millions of dollars that are going to be lost from portal to portal, and from the abysmal new media deal, and from the lack of negotiation in the cable TV deal. You're talking about a declination in residuals, a declination in benefits to the health and pension fund, which will defund it. We're barely funded now at 80.08%, which is really ridiculous. That's why it needs to be audited. There were 4 embezzlements in our plan, 3 embezzlements in our pension plan, 1 in the residuals trust fund at SAG. So our leadership never forensically audited these plans, which is corporate governance 101. Anytime there's a deficiency in finance, then you have to qualify the audit, because most audits done year in and year out are called unqualified audits, and they don't have standing in a court of law. Qualified audits, once there's a deficiency and you have to qualify it, which is a forensic in nature, that particular audit can be used in a court of law. The fact is that, Ms. Gutierrez and her political party refused. The secretary-treasurers in the last, 6 years, they've all refused to be accountable. We need leadership that tells the truth. And if not, I want my pension and health plans to be there. I want them for everybody. Every member should have a pension and health plan.
Agree. Yeah. And what about, we were talking about Hulu and Netflix and things like that, and the ever-changing new media. How do you plan as president to stay on top of and adapting to the new media as it changes?
Well, like I said at the beginning, the whole thing needs to, we're in the dark ages. We need to up the technology. See, we have iActor, which is a website which is not functional. You need to change it to a much higher level of a membership portal where you can have access to artificial intelligence on your phone, where you can track every bit of media that you're on real time in the world 24 hours a day. We have tools that do that. The problem is that the leadership, respectfully, they're actors and they don't have any background in business. And it's better if you don't. Like if I'm not equipped scholastically in some area, I'm going to hire someone better than me to do that job. That would be intelligent to do. But to say you want an actress from 90201, 90210 to 90210 to lead, this union, when she didn't even get elected. First of all, she was appointed. Ken Howard, rest in peace, he died, and her political party voted her in on the national board. She wasn't the will of the membership. So then she travels around the country, in my opinion, electioneering, using union members' money to go promote this contract, which was vilely opposed. And this doesn't make any sense, because I figure there's at least 4,000 some people that voted no. There's got to be, at least between the actors and the background who hated the contract, at least another 6,000 to 7,000. They said about 5,500 people only voted no. I don't buy it.
I believe it was at 15%.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Of a little over 15%.
I don't buy it. I think malfeasance took place. I think it's a rigged game. I think they need to get everybody that voted no and put them up on a website with their number, and let's compare the numbers, because it's the first time that it was an electronic campaign, and there's lots of room for collusion when you're dealing with electronic campaign. I mean, you have to look at the history of these people.
Well, you obviously, just by chatting with you just for these few minutes, 38 years as a SAG member, this is extremely important to you.
Well, it's extremely important to me because you see, I'm fully vested in a pension, and a lot of people on our national board, it's really like, I want to say, business idiocy. We have people on our national and local boards that aren't vested in pensions, that might have 3 or 4 credits in the last 15 years. What are they doing in our business? I said, if people want to do that and they want to try to earn a living, that's great. But the people that should be making decisions that are financial, that affect your financial future, should have one.
Right.
It's not fair that somebody that is trying to prolificate, hey, this is a great contract because they just want to work, and yet their decisions affect the defunding of my pension and your health care.
Right.
Because, the bottom line is that the health care costs keep going up and up 10% year on year. Look at the Writers Guild negotiation. And it's no different. It's going to be no different this year. And the issue is, since we merged, and the merger was sold on an inducement of misinformation. Like, a lot of the members didn't know after it was a few months from being bankrupt, right before we merged. Our leader, our national executive director, and again, the United for Strength political party, didn't do the homework. I mean, how would you like to merge two entities in a merger and acquisition and not audit their tax returns three years back, match them with their banking records, and audit all the vendors, the books and records, like the spider web? It's a forensic audit. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. Now, if you found out that 11,000 members were dues paying listed in AFTRA's books that didn't exist, that came out in the PricewaterhouseCoopers audit. Now, if that's the case, if the members would have known that AFTRA was virtually bankrupt and there was a multi-million-dollar embezzlement in our pension plan that the FBI was investigating, and this came out, but David White, our national executive director, denied it. Duncan Crabtree, our CEO, who's a lawyer, denied it. So they're not being truthful with the membership. And if they're not being truthful for the membership, it's like me selling you a house and saying it's a brilliant house, and you buy it, and then I didn't tell you that the foundation was broken.
Yeah.
Would you feel defrauded if I didn't give you full disclosure?
Sure.
Well, the problem is in our contracts, there's no disclosure. It's like you go around the country. It's like a dictatorship. Ms. Gutierrez speaks at people. She doesn't allow democratic debate. She's refused to debate me. And the bottom line, those are actions, a gross lack of integrity. She can't listen to the truth because I can out her for all her negligent business practices. Mm-hmm. She's hiding things. They wasted $15 million renting office space in New York after the merger. Instead of subletting a building, they moved, and they didn't sublet their building before they moved, and they couldn't rent it.
Right.
So the members of our dues money, it's cost $15 million. You know what we could do with $15 million? Auditors, technology. Mm-hmm. We could use more business reps, more attorneys, more people to track our residuals. We could buy real estate. I mean, respectfully,
right.
We re-upped a lease at SAG-AFTRA for $60 million. I could have bought a mini studio for that much money.
Right. And we're almost out of time. The thing is you've mentioned a lot of things that you've done that qualify you for this position. What is the main thing that you believe qualifies you to be the SAG-AFTRA national president?
I've worked all the contracts, since 1979. As a background artist, as an actor, as a stunt performer, as a stunt coordinator, and as a commercial actor. As well, and I'm not someone that just preaches to people. I actually am a working man, and I understand what happens on the set because I work the contracts all the time, and I know what the issues are. And then I have a finance and economic background, and in an ever-changing environment like you were speaking of earlier. We need to re-up the game. We need to hire people that understand what corporations do. The NED at SAG-AFTRA should be a CEO that's turned a profit in a business, not a labor attorney, because they failed abysmally in the last 4 contract negotiations. We keep losing money. We keep losing money in our contracts.
Well, Pete, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and appreciate you talking to all our listeners and
sharing this information
with
the
us.
SAG-AFTRA members.
We'll let you know real quick. We were going to go to a break. Pete Antico was just with us. Real quick, I want to let you know, Pete, and the rest of everybody know, we reached out to Gabrielle several times to be on this show, and she did not. So that's that. We'll be right back. Hollywood Close-Up.
Silent run, like sentinels, over seagulls, wind will rattle my bones, but I won't feel alone. Though you took my heart like an elegant thief and left me here like a skeleton leaf, I will wait for you here by the moon, me and the moon, just me and the moon. Me and the moon. I'll love you clear as the ring of a bell. I'll hold you tight as the twists on a unicorn shell. And if I knew the perfect thing to say or to do, I would do it for you. And when days and days have gone wandering by, and some days we can't tell ocean from sky, even if the sky should fall and cover me up, you can know it's all a show, 'cause there's no time I'd rather waste than to wait, saving a place for you and me and the moon. Me and the moon. Me and the moon.
All right, welcome back to Hollywood Close-Up. I'm Wayne Frazier.
I'm Natalie Lipka.
And we have Marilyn Monrovia on the line. She is the next, make sure I get this all correct. She is, and here it is, the lady is running as an independent for the SAG-AFTRA National Presidency, and we're happy to have her. She's an actress and she's a comedian. Her name is Marilyn Monrovia. Hello, Marilyn. How are you?
Hi Hollywood, hi the world.
Hi. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, actually I've been here the whole time. It's just now I stopped using the vanishing cream, and now casting directors can see me.
Well, listen, welcome to the show. We're running a pretty tight shift here. I want to start right in. What is your first plan of business if and when you get voted as the SAG-AFTRA National President?
I'd like to end the strike with the video game voice actors. It started last October 21st, and I plan to seek out the Scott Whitman attorney, who happens to be known as a union buster, and try to just capture his heart and try to compel him to and all of our vocal stress and safety precautions that we deserve and the residuals that the motion capture artists deserve are really worth having. And then my platform is servant leadership. I'd like to make one union be one union. I want to work alongside the members. I'd like to just try to convince everyone that United for Strength and Membership First, they're not needed. They divide us more than they benefit us. I'd like to reduce the number of employed staff that are overpaid. I'd like to put a cap on the salaries of our employed people that work for SAG that could be alongside the normal working man. I'd like to restructure the health insurance. I want to include everyone who can earn $3,000 a year for an individual and $6,000 a year for a family, and give them the same benefits that something like CalPERS has. It's a deluxe policy. What we're offering to our people is not all that great.
And let us ask you, next question, how do you plan to bring back more acting jobs to the union?
Oh, I plan to coin the phrase maiden player, and that anyone in our union could claim they're a maiden player, like new people. They could register that they've never worked or only a few times worked. We could bring them into the light, and then they could be cast and introduced to further in their careers. Just like our union is made up of just an elite few people that do work. I think everyone should have a chance to work.
Absolutely. If you're elected, how do you intend to keep, the union adapted to, the growing new media markets all over the place, from Netflix to Hulu to, streaming? How do you intend to keep the union adapted?
Well, anticipation is always the key, staying ahead of the curve. We could hire researchers that actually see what's happening with the market. I listen to my own children, and they keep me ahead of the loop. They are putting on these headsets, and they're going into a virtual world where they're in the scene in the movie. It's like a 4D movie scene. So maybe we need to set a precedent and that we are included in this new up-and-coming menu.
Right. And what we're curious about, obviously you're running for president, so we know it's important, but what does SAG-AFTRA mean to you?
Well, it's an organization that supports everything that I love, and it's my business. And I believe that we should strive to have more harmony in our business so the members can get along, and I'd like to make it a user-friendly union so that more people would want to join.
And what, for qualifications, you're an actress, you're a comedian, what qualifies you to take such an important role? Because it's a big step to be president of.
I do realize it, and I've been a member for the past 9 years. I've been participating in films and television shows. I believe in myself, and I have high expectations for all of our members, not just a chosen few. I think that we all deserve better jobs and benefits. I think that's my answer. I believe that we should treat each other like people would like to be treated.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add on to any kind of statements?
I made a funny music video, and it's going to be on Vimeo. If anybody wants to check it out, Vimeo, Marilyn Monrovia, should be up in the next few days.
Okay. Excellent. Well, definitely keep an eye out for that video.
Yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate you calling in and say hello.
If anybody personally knows Scott Waitland, he's the union buster attorney that works for the 11 people we're strike with. Please give me a call, Marilyn at Bunny Shines, Marilyn Monrovia on Facebook.
There you go.
Excellent.
You heard it first. Marilyn, thank you so much for your time. If there's any last comments, otherwise, good luck to you, and we appreciate you talking.
I have one more thought, please. I think that the union is charging me 4 cents to contact all my union members as a campaign person. I think that should be illegal. I have to spend $5,200 just to send out a post to my people, and I think open communication should be great, included in our union, that we could all reach out to one another and talk to one another and see what's going on behind the scenes. I think that we should have a monthly letter that goes out. For every meeting we have, it should be posted the minutes by the secretary, what happened in that meeting, and all members should know it, everything that happens.
Excellent.
Okay, well, thank you again so much. We really
Thanks.
appreciate
Nice to
your
meet
time.
you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Nice to meet you, too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn Monrovia. We're going to take another quick break. For Hollywood Close-Up, I'm Natalie Lipka.
And I'm Wayne Frazier.
All the stars are out tonight. Came out to the desert to forget. Though I barely even knew you, knew a little than I dreamed up all the rest. 'Cause I ran before I knew it, lied before I figured out what's true. So I'd be the last to blame you, going out and getting someone new. Could this all have gone down differently? Thought of that just stops me where I stand. Oh, but I didn't come this far to drown. I didn't come this far to drown.
All right, welcome back to Hollywood Close-Up. This is Wayne Frazier.
And I'm Natalie Lipka.
And this is a special episode of Hollywood Close-Up. It's so far amazing.
A lot of information.
Lots of information.
For all of us actors here. And the next candidate, he is the membership first nominee for SAG-AFTRA National President. He's served on the national board for 17 years, and he was gracious enough to send us an audio statement. It's actor Isai Morales.
Hi, Isai Morales here from Budapest, working on location, but nonetheless dedicated to answer your platform questions. I'm a 17-year member of the board, national and local. I have been a member of SAG and AFTRA for 40 years. This will be my 40th year as a member. And I'm running for national president. So first plan of business, if and when you get voted in, is SAG-AFTRA national president. Well, I'd have to say that I have to talk to the staff, the folks who are running the union at present, and find out where David White and I see eye to eye and where we don't, and how we could bridge that gap to better serve our members. I'd also probably do a top-to-bottom audit of our operations and our finances to make sure everything is up and up, and if need be, even go for a truly independent forensic audit. I would also order up a feasibility study to make sure that we can figure out a way to stop splitting our earnings and our contributions to our pension plan. That's a big problem, and we have to dedicate ourselves to it. But first things first, I believe the seating of the committees so that they can get to work with the important business that they do is very important. But I would do something different. I would not abide by the heavy-handed, in my opinion, rule that the president seat all these national committees. I mean, why should someone on the LA board be voting on who the Chicago or New York committee members will be? I mean, I don't think that makes sense. It's too much centralization of power, and I think it's a way for me to decentralize the power and give it back to the locals where it belongs. They know their people best. And it's how it used to be successfully done at SAG. So that's something there. Also, I'd bring back transparency. It's a word that's often used, but I mean it. I mean, things like a minority report. You know, when there are big issues, we want to know not just what the union says or not just what the presiding powerful bloc politically says. I want to hear from all sides. I think we can make better decisions if we have more information flowing into our boardrooms and towards our members. Get the members more involved and make sure that they understand just how crucial it is that they support their union as much as their union should and will support them. Next question, how do you plan to bring back more acting jobs? That's interesting. You know, besides supporting the tax incentives to make sure that we are competitive with the other nations and places that offer incentives as well, I would say that usually happens in negotiations and things like with the background numbers. You know, background's the only category that has caps. Everybody else works with fellow union members. Background folks work with non-union folks, and that's interesting, and I don't know why that has to be that way. We didn't get any increases in our numbers on this last ratified contract, so that was a disappointment. Next question. Before I go to that question, I do recall that our commercial actors have been getting decimated for some time now. So we owe it to them to really, I guess, reinvigorate the commercial recapture campaign that we had, an initiative to take back and reorganize commercials. So I would talk to the heads of the departments, commercial department. I think it's Lori Hunt and Sue Ann Morrow, who I think is the head of organizing. I would basically make sure that we give them everything that they need to do the best job that they can, reinvigorate that whole department. Also, talk to studio heads so that they, we better reflect the American scene. Diversity is not a bad word. It's reflective of the reality of our lives, and we have people with disabilities, we have seniors or women over 40, protected groups, Asians, Latinos, African Americans, that need to make sure that they can work too, and that they're not being overlooked. Those are things I think that will help, if not bring more jobs back to the union, at least spread it out more equitably. Next question, if elected, how do you intend to keep the unit adapted to the ever-growing new media markets? That's a good one. I guess what we can do is keep our eyes out and our ears to the ground and make sure we are up to date with all the developments, and we can see where the trajectory is going, so we can anticipate a lot of these developments and what their impacts will be. Talk to our fellow, our sister unions, IATSE, WGA, DGA, to figure out what they know so that we can keep each other updated. But I'll tell you what I won't do. I won't let ourselves get left behind. I won't take empty promises that, where people have said to us, we need a break. We need you to, give us X amount of free exhibitions or cut residuals over here because we don't know if we can even make money. We don't know, it was long ago, it was the VHS, and then became DVDs, cable TV. Again, every time there's a new technology, we get shafted, to be honest, because we get promised that we can revisit these issues later, and then when we try, they say it's off the table. Now, it's not fair. It's not good faith union bargaining tactics. So I would definitely not allow that to keep happening. What qualifies you to take on the most important position at SAG-AFTRA? Well, I could say a few things. I don't like talking up my laurels. I've done so much in my life that I don't even remember half the things that I've championed, because I've liked in my life to represent the underdog. I don't like bullies from the schoolyard to the negotiating table or the boardroom. I don't like bullies. I think that there's a way to conduct business equitably and fairly. I like to listen to all sides. I like to reach across the aisle. I do believe in, doing work that helps heal our wounds and build bridges across divides. So I see myself in that role, a diplomat, a peaceful warrior, one who will fight for you. But fight is not the only thing we need to do. We need to learn when and where to get along so that we can best serve all of our members. I also think that it's in my blood. My mother was a union organizer for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. I remember going to picket lines with her. I remember there were fights. There were fights against scabs, even cops. I mean, it was crazy in the late 60s. But those folks knew that they had a very important job to do. My mother organized people from the tri-state New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area with barely any English. But she did not take abuse. She was not someone who would allow people to not only abuse her but abuse the person next to her. So I have that in my genes, and I want to honor her in this capacity as well. I also feel like I have the respect and the mentoring of a lot of great folks in our union. Folks that are no longer alive, folks that are no longer there, but people like Kent McCord, who's just an invaluable source of institutional memory, and our David Jolliffe, who has more experience, knowledge, and just dedication than anyone else that I know in this union and these boards. They chose me to represent membership first and to run for this job for a reason. They understand my temperament. They understand who I am, what kind of heart beats inside of me, and how I just won't get swayed easily by the go-along to get along crowd. No, I do believe in justice, and I do believe that we've got a lot of ground to regain. We can't allow our industry employers or partners / employers to keep eroding at the provisions and the protections that we've had, that we fought for so long, that our founders fought for and risked their lives and careers. We can't keep trading them away for nominal gains or what looks like gains. But when you really do the math, it doesn't add up. When you have 17 million that the union admits series regulars will lose upon relocating with the producer's base and the loss of portal to portal, these numbers that we get told are not exactly the full picture. So we have no idea of the tens of millions of dollars that we're going to potentially lose in this new Diginets giveaway. These internet channels or sub-channels from our networks, we used to get syndicated residuals, Now we're going to get fee-based residuals. When you do the math, it results in pennies on the dollar in comparison. So there are a lot of things that we need to educate ourselves and our members, and I'm dedicated to doing that. So what the union means to me is that we don't have to face these multinational corporate giants on our own, that we have our brothers and sisters there, and they have our back. So thank you for listening, and I wish to serve you well as president. Thank you.
Fantastic. That was Isai Morales, audio.
Grateful that he sent that in
Absolutely.
to share with all of us.
Thank you, and to all the listeners. We're going to take one more break, and then we're going to come back with Robert B. Martin Jr. We'll be right back. Hollywood Close-Up. I'm Wayne Frazier.
And I'm Natalie Lipka.
Silent rocks like sentinels stand over ghosts of seagulls and sand, and the wind will come to rattle my bones, but I won't feel alone. Though you took
We're back on Hollywood Close-Up. Just kidding. Harry here.
Sorry,
We're here.
that was my fault. Sorry about that.
We got this.
This is live, people.
Yes, it
That's
is.
what happens.
This is live. It's very exciting. You are in on this with us.
Absolutely. And so far we've heard from three of the other candidates for president of the National SAG-AFTRA Union. And our next guest and final SAG-AFTRA National presidential candidate is running as an independent, and we're going to be speaking to actor and casting director via phone, Robert B. Martin Jr. Hello, Robert, are you there?
I am here. How are you guys?
Good.
Wonderful.
How are you?
Good, good. Did you get inundated with lots of information thrown your way?
Absolutely.
So much information.
Look, we want to get rolling right in. Thank you so much for calling.
Do it.
Robert, first and foremost, what is your first plan of business if and when you get elected as the SAG-AFTRA national president?
Well, is that besides the obvious stuff like FICOR and net neutrality and health and pension? For me, it's streamlining member services because SAG-AFTRA is about the members. So there are a few issues like residuals, being paid our residuals on time. That needs to be taken care of immediately. Some of us are waiting months upon months after SAG receives the residual payments for them to even turn around the check and get it back to us. That's a big deal, especially right now in our working environment where the working actor really depends on those residuals to pay their bills, for car payments and to take care of their families. It's also streamlining our Station 12 services. So we're like right now, say if somebody was booked, it takes days for them to be cleared. And sometimes they're cleared after they've shot, which is against the rules. So most importantly, streamlining our member services to better service our working class performers. And, of course, that goes in with, like I was saying, alleviating our FICOR issues so we can create more work, production incentives, net neutrality, and dealing with health and pension, because health and pension is a big deal.
Right. And when you've mentioned FICOR twice, how do you plan to bring back more acting jobs to the union?
Well, that's about educating, and it's about educating not only our current SAG-AFTRA performers, but it's also educating the performers who've gone FICOR, and most importantly, it's educating the ad agencies and brand owners and production companies who are actually creating the content, the content creators that are producing non-union. And that's the most important part, and I've been directly responsible for guiding in-house ad agencies and brand owners and production companies from non-union projects to SAG-AFTRA contracts, and I've done this my entire career. So by performing these actions, I've been directly responsible for wages and pension and health contributions, and most importantly, I've created real work opportunities for SAG-AFTRA performers. So I plan on continuing to educate the brand owners and brand managers, and including board of directors and CEOs, senior VPs of productions, heads of productions, on the cost advantages of deploying our diverse contracts for greater investor ROIs over unpredictable and unstable non-union projects.
You know, Robert, the new media markets, and we're keeping these questions strictly unbiased for Hollywood Close-Up in the network studios, and we want to know in our next set of questions here, and the new media markets, the Netflixes, the Hulus, how do you intend to help the union adapt to the ever-changing media?
Well, that's a really great question, and it's a question that we faced when we started coming up against when the internet first started coming into play. When we started moving over into cable broadcast, it's the same thing. It just depends on where we are in our time. So I believe it's imperative to appreciate and comprehend where our industry has been, where our industry is currently, and most importantly, where our industry is growing. And where our industry is growing is truly at the core of my policies and procedures that I plan to implement as president of SAG-AFTRA. And that goes directly into your question of emerging technologies such as AI and AR and VR, video games, how virtual reality is moving actually into the video gaming platform, how augmented reality is moving into the Apple products that we see currently, how artificial intelligence is going to bridge the gap and bring all of these mediums, and it'll affect here soon not only the way we live our lives, but it'll affect our work environment, and most importantly, how we gather our entertainment. Those entertainment ecosystems. So when you understand and you have a big picture and a big idea of why content is being created to serve which audience and how they're going about delivering that content to those specific audience, whether it be via a cell phone, whether it be via their TV or their iPad or in their car, we have to stay up on these types of technologies. We have to be running parallel, and it's easy to do as long as you have the people and you surround yourself with those content creators, and we have the ability to do that.
Right, and we know that you've been a part of SAG-AFTRA for a long time.
Long time, yes, ma'am.
So what does SAG-AFTRA mean to you?
Interestingly enough, I come from a right-to-work state, Texas, and in a right-to-work state, if you haven't joined the union already, when you do a SAG-AFTRA job, they'll say, hey, you can join SAG-AFTRA now or you cannot. And the first opportunity that I had to join the union, to be a part of SAG-AFTRA, I took it. And it was for one reason only. When you're a member of the union, you're considered to be a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And people take you serious in what you do. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this, as we all have as creatives and especially as actors. People tend to look at us funny who aren't performers. Oh, you'll never, that's so difficult. Oh, you're just an actor. That's not real. But they don't understand the amount of time it really takes and the amount of skill and the studying and having to drive 2 hours to an audition and wait an hour and then drive 2 hours back and doing that 3 and 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
It to me, being a part of SAG-AFTRA substantiates all that hard work, substantiates the years of studying improv, going to class and having conversations and doing plays and doing as much and just acting. And to me, that's what SAG-AFTRA really is about. It's about being in a brotherhood, a sisterhood, being with professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what SAG-AFTRA is. It's a group of professionals. And unfortunately, as I'm sure you've seen and heard, it has become a little divisive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say it has become a little divisive. It is divisive. We have different segments of SAG-AFTRA. We have different actor groups who say that they know better. And the fact is our strength is in our diversity. And I think some people have forgotten that. I mean, when you really look at it, we're the most original, and we are exactly like America. We're the truest representation of America.
So
we represent everybody in SAG-AFTRA, from babies all the way up to elderly, in every age demographic, every country, sex, sexual preference, political view, religious view. We represent everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we've sort of forgotten about that.
And you, Robert, as an actor and a casting director in the business, what do you feel like is your qualifications and to take such an important position as the president of SAG-AFTRA?
Well, I think as the president has to not only understand how to negotiate our contracts, but most importantly, execute our contracts. And because I've always been an actor first, not only have I executed every contract, but having the experience of being a casting director, you really understand how content truly is created,
mm-hmm.
and the strategies behind it. And you understand the metrics that are involved when investors are doing their evaluations, like when they want to invest into the new emerging media markets like Netflix or Hulu or Instagram or Facebook. You understand their mentality, and you quickly learn how to play on their level and what they're gunning for. and how they're most importantly creating their content. And I think a president, especially the president of SAG-AFTRA, have to know these things, especially sitting in the negotiating room across the table from them. They have to understand their policies and procedures. They have to understand their tactics and techniques of how they're creating it. Because if you really look at it, and if you really do, it boils down to one thing. The producer's goal and the performer's goal in creating content is one and the same. We want to create the best content that we can for one person, and that is the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yes, the performer goes about it differently than the producer, but the fact is you cannot produce creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. You can't do that. There's only really three things you can do. You can identify it, then you can nourish it, and then give it the perfect environment to do its best work in front of the camera, period.
Right. Well, thank you, Robert. We have a little bit more time. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you wanted to share?
No, I think the most important part is just to remember that, we as performers, there was this little thing I heard a few years ago, and it was a survey, and it really stuck with me, and it still sticks with me to this day. 95% of the people in the world would rather choose death over having to stand up in front of a big group of people and do a speech. But can you imagine how important we are as performers to be able to not only stand up and say a speech, but also put meaning behind it, to stand in front of a crew, to be able to stand in front of cameras and lights and have to take direction and make it believable and real. So what we do as performers is very special, and it's very unique, and it's unlike anything else in the world. And I think it's important for all of us to stop and really say, it's time for SAG-AFTRA to come together as one. And we talk about union solidarity, but we really don't express it. And it's time that we live our lives, and it's time that we actually perform, and we come together, and it be union solidarity for real. There's no other time that we need to do that than right now.
Robert, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking a part of your day out to chat with us here on Hollywood Close-Up. Wish you the best of luck in the elections, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for giving us a platform, and thank you so much for giving SAG-AFTRA a platform, and from all of us presidential candidates, even the one that didn't participate today. SAG-AFTRA thanks you guys, so thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Of course. Thank you so much.
All righty.
Thank you, Rob. Bye-bye. Wow. So much information.
My brain is on overload
Mm-hmm.
in a good way.
Yeah, taking it all in.
I think, when we decided to put this show together, this special episode, a lot of it was because through talking to actors that we know, a lot of people were maybe interested in the election, maybe not, weren't really sure why they should care, although there's a lot of information online that each candidate has given out on their own.
Right.
A lot of people weren't aware, and we just thought it was important, especially with our show, Two Actors Talking Our Way to the Top, that we should have an opportunity to share this information. So,
agreed. Absolutely. Well said, Natalie.
Oh, thank you, Wayne Fraser.
Yeah. It is so important in this election, whether putting the unions solidarity and putting together and uniting and everybody's different opinions and thoughts on everything. It is so important that you watch the show, learn what these people are saying, guys. We'll be putting these clips out for the next couple of weeks, so you can review them. It'll be on our website at natalieandwayne.com. Please check it out. Listen to what they're saying and vote this time.
Yeah, make sure to vote.
It's that important. If you want to keep this union strong, and we do. Natalie and I have talked about this since the beginning of Hollywood Close-Up. We have been union strong. And it's very important. Listen to what these people are saying. and take it in and do your research, and because these are the people that are your future leaders.
Yeah. And once again, thank you to all of the candidates that called in today. And as a reminder, we created this as an unbiased environment, to hear their points and just to listen to the different points of view. So we're grateful.
Absolutely. Unbelievable work from Rena Marie. We have to give her
thank you, Rena.
the lovely.
Thank you so much.
We love
you guys.
lovely.
Good job today. Great job, you two.
2 days in a row, imagine that. But listen, thanks a lot. We'll be back next week for sure. We have a really special guest. We're not going to announce it yet, but this is a big star.
We're
big
excited.
star. We can't wait. So thank you so much to Facebook Live, to the network studios.
To all of you out there.
Absolutely. Vote, people. And music by Florence Hartigan again.
Yeah. Check her out at soundcloud.com/Florence Hartigan. And please remember, cancer has affected so many of our lives, and we can donate to cancerresearch.org and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS.org. Let's end this disease once and for all.
Absolutely. For Hollywood Close-Up, I'm Wayne Frazier.
And I'm Natalie Lipka.
Until the next one.
Peace.
You've been listening to Hollywood Close-Up with Wayne Frazier and Natalie Lipka. Be sure to visit natalieandwayne.com for past episodes as well as information on future ones. Also, be sure to rate and comment about the show in iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.
For someone to see.